Ambassadors, Mayor Arve, Mayor Terehov, dear friends. My name is Mika Akkanen, and I'm Manager of International Affairs of the City of Turku and Vice Chairman of Europe Forum Association. I wish you all welcome to this special session on Ukraine. We have a slight change in the program that you have had earlier. There will be a curfew in Kharkiv starting at 7:00 p.m. this evening. Ulkona liikkumiskielto in Finnish. And we have changed the signing ceremony of the Twin City Agreement between our two cities to the beginning of this session. And then after that, we will then continue with the actual seminar. This because, so otherwise the colleagues in Kharkiv wouldn't be able to stay with us. And they will stay as long as they can, and then they leave. And we, of course, appreciate that and understand their situation. But anyway, yes, this seminar takes place in English language, and it will interpret it into Russian to the colleagues in Kharkiv. And the colleagues are Olga and Olga, the interpreters are Olga and Olga Hirvirinen and Olga Galinsky, who are somewhere in Turku, and let's hope the connections work. We start this short ceremony by the speeches by the mayors. First, Mayor Minna Arve, and then Mayor Igor Terehov. So may I ask Mayor Arve to come and give her address.
Distinguished Ambassadors Dibreva, Zukierman, Wojciech, and my dear colleague, Mayor Ihor Terehov. Tonight, the cities of Turku and Kharkiv are signing our mutual Twin City Agreement, the first new one that the city of Turku has signed since year 2008. During Russia's brutal attack against Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, the city of Turku has provided support for Ukraine and Ukrainian, and that's in very concrete way, and also shown its acts of solidarity. When freedom and democracy are being attacked, we will not remain passive nor silent. Due to the well-established cooperation since the beginning of the war between Turku and the Ukrainian embassy in Helsinki, Turku and Kharkiv are now entering a new phase in this cooperation. This Twin City Agreement we are now entering into enables a wide cooperation in many different forms between our cities. It has both short and long-run goals and offers a new direct path for new initiatives between our two cities. This means not only the immediate actions to support and rebuild the city of Kharkiv, but also equal and modern opportunities to develop our city's cooperation. This includes enabling the city of Kharkiv to participate in City of Turku's European city networks and other networks, as well as project funding cooperation. From this night on, we will immediately begin working on the matters featured in the agreement and set up a timetable together with our colleagues from Kharkiv, and this Twin City Agreement will enable our equal mutual cooperation, which will benefit both our cities. I wish to thank the Mayor of Kharkiv, Ihor Terehov, for the good cooperation in preparing our joint agreement and look forward to the day when we can meet face to face. Equally, I wish to thank the whole city of Kharkiv for the willingness and cooperation in creating this Twin City relationship with the city of Turku. I want to thank you and my best regards to the people in Kharkiv.
Thank you, Mayor Arve. And now it's time to give the floor to Mayor Ihor Terehov in Kharkiv. He will speak in Russian, and we will have the speech subtitled in English, hopefully. Please, Mayor Terehov.
Добрый день, уважаемая госпожа Арве, уважаемые коллеги, дипломаты, участники Европейского форума в городе Турку. Для нас чрезвычайно важным событием является сегодняшнее подписание договора о партнерстве и сотрудничестве с городом Турку, так как это еще раз подчеркивает поддержку и солидарность со стороны наших иностранных партнеров и открывает для нас новые горизонты международного сотрудничества. В этой связи я хотел бы поблагодарить вас, госпожа Арве, а также госпожу посла Украины в Финляндии Ольгу Деброву за инициативу и приложенные усилия для того, чтобы объединить город Харьков с городом Турку партнерскими взаимоотношениями в столь сложное время, в такие сжатые сроки. Госпожа посол неоднократно посещала Харьков и видела наш динамично развивающийся современный довоенный город, наблюдая, как в Харькове развивались транспортная инфраструктура, сфера предоставления административных услуг, IT-сектор, образовательные возможности, которым обладал город Харьков. 24 февраля многое изменилось. Россия нарушила нормы международного права и все возможные гарантии, принятые в цивилизованном мире. С первых дней войны Харьков стал северо-восточным форпостом Украины. Мы приняли и отражаем мощные удары агрессора. Я не буду сегодня называть ужасающие цифры разрушений гражданских объектов и критической инфраструктуры города. Ежедневно российский агрессор продолжает беспощадно разрушать Харьков путем удаленных артиллерийских и ракетных бомбардировок. Но даже в таких тяжелых условиях войны, мы уже думаем о будущем и послевоенном восстановлении Харькова с учетом лучшего опыта международных практик. Именно поэтому для нас очень важно сотрудничество с международными организациями, городами-побратимами и нашими партнерами. И город Турку будет один из наших партнеров, начиная с сегодняшнего дня. Совсем недавно мы провели установочное заседание Координационного совета городов-партнеров для максимально эффективного использования инструмента межмуниципального сотрудничества. Я уверен, что город Турку поддержит эту инициативу и войдет после сегодняшнего подписания партнерских побратимских отношений в состав Координационного совета. Работа совета нацелена на мир, стабильность и процветание всех городов. Бесценен опыт вашего города. Насколько мне известно, в городе Турку расположена штаб-квартира организации украинской диаспоры, украинцы Финляндии, что в свою очередь свидетельствует об уже имеющемся сотрудничестве между нашими культурными и гуманитарными сферами. Я уверен, что в будущем нас ждет целый ряд совместных проектов, направленных на развитие наших городов, укрепление наших связей. И, конечно, мы, как никто другой, понимаем важность и значимость открытости общества и обмена опытом и информацией в различных сферах жизнедеятельности наших городов. Благодарю за внимание и уверен, что наше сотрудничество даст плодотворный результат для Харькова и для Турку.
Thank you, Mayor Terehov. Now it's time to sign the agreement between the cities of Kharkiv and Turku by the mayors Arve and Terehov. So may I ask you to prepare and the assistants give the agreement photos to be signed. And after the signing, we have agreed with the staffs that would you raise the document and show it to the camera that it really has been signed officially, because we are remote now. Here we go. Thank you and congratulations to both cities. And now we end this short ceremony by short final words by the mayors, and would Mayor Arve begin, please?
First of all, I would like to thank my mayor colleague, Terehov, about this cooperation, this Twin City agreement. I really look forward in cooperation between our two cities, and I really look forward to meeting you in Kharkov. I want to share with you a short story of this little Ukrainian heart. Yesterday was Ukrainian Independence Day, so happy Independence Day. And Ukrainian people here in Turku were celebrating it by the Cathedral of Turku. I didn't know in advance that they were there, but I saw them when I was passing by, and I asked if I can join them in their celebration. And little boy gave me this heart, and he hugged me. And I just told them that I wish that we can here in Turku provide them a temporary home where they can feel safe so long time that they need to be here, even though I know that they long home. Thank you.
And now I can ask for the final words by Mayor Terehov, please.
Уважаемая коллега,
Dear colleague, Madam Arve, today is an important day for all the citizens of Kharkov. We've signed agreement on partnership. What you demonstrated us, I mean, the heart of Ukraine, it is really so. Ukrainian people are very open people, very friendly people, and I think that today we have opened sort of a base for our future relation. And I'm sure that today and further after our victory, we will establish relationship and wide cooperation. Today, I would like to use the opportunity and say to you and to all the people in Finland that Ukraine is fighting for democracy in the whole world. I would like to thank you. I would like to thank the whole all the citizens of Finland, and personally you, Madam Arve, for your support for your support, for you supporting us in this fight. I hope our relationship will develop from year from year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Terehov. So now we end this small ceremony, and the video connection to Kharkiv will be closed down, but they will remain listening to us in the Kharkiv mayor's office, so they will be with us as long as they can. And then we'll turn to the actual seminar or the special session, and we have some distinguished ambassadors and the Undersecretary of State of the Foreign Ministry of Finland who have promised to share some opinions on the situation with us. And first I would like to ask the chairman of the Europe Forum Association, Dr. Anders Blom, to come here and give the opening words and explain what it's all about. Mr. Blom, you're welcome.
Your Excellencies, and dear friends and our friends in Kharkiv, on behalf of Europe Forum, I want to welcome you all here on the organizers' behalf. And the idea of this special session comes from the real situation where we are, because when this date organizing Europe Forum was agreed, we didn't think about the National Day of Ukraine, and we didn't think about the events we are facing in February 24th. And that's why we were forced to change quite a lot in our program. Thanks to our partners, especially in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Economy and so on, we managed to do it. And a lot of things have happened. And one of the real events happened by signing this agreement, which we in Turku are very proud of. And we salute our great mayor that she has been so active in putting in force this political action. So thank you. But we also want to know, which is very important, that what the European family was doing. And that's why the idea of this event, the special session, is to get brief information from our representatives in Helsinki, ambassadors from France and Czech Republic, who are representing the presidential countries of European Council of Ministers, what European Union did, because a lot of things have happened and decisions have made. So this session is about that. And then we have, of course, here our Understate Secretary of Political Affairs from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Finland, Mr. Sauer, who will give us the very latest report that what Finland is doing at the moment. So this is the very purpose of this session. And I'm very happy that all of you are present here. And I thank the city of Turku of organizing this. And this audience was specially selected representing representing important participants of Europe Forum. Mr. Akkanen will continue now proceeding this program, and we are listening the first intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Blum. Yes, so we'll start. First, we should, of course, hear about the comments from the Ukrainian side, opinions, insight, and so on. So please, Ambassador Olga Dibrova.
Dear friends, dear colleagues, Mayor Arve, Under-Secretary Sauer, I'm very happy to be here on this very joyful occasion of the signing of a partnership agreement between Kharkiv and Turku. As Mayor Terehov rightly mentioned, I have been to Kharkiv several times. Because there was a prominent project launched by the Kharkiv City Council called the School of Young Diplomats. And I was lecturing there and presenting diplomas. And unfortunately now the building of the City Council, where these events took place, is ruined, completely ruined by a missile from the Russian side. But it will not stop us, just like another horrifying present, according to the Russian side, for the Ukrainian Independence Day, and killing another 25 people, including 2 children, in Chaplino, a region of Dnipro, by hitting the railway station. But it will push Ukrainian people to only more resistance and more desire to bring victory as soon as possible. At this right moment, Ukrainians are fighting and dying for their choice to be free and full-fledged members of the European community of democracies and prosperity, and be a part of Euro-Atlantic space of common security. And it is critically important that we are all united in overcoming common threat of Russian imperialistic adventurism, and we are united in our commitment to defend international law and basic principles of human rights, human dignity, and we are thinking of the future of European project. I am saying that recalling many hot discussions in the previous years in the European capitals on the role of the EU and NATO during the preparation of the new strategic concept of NATO and the EU strategic compass. Now, when we are all mobilized, facing common grave threat, we have clear common vision and need to use this unique opportunity, proving to the world and to ourselves that we can build something new, stable and secure. It is important for all of us. I want to underline that the EU, over this past 6 months and 1 day of Russia's unprovoked and brutal, in all senses, military invasion in Ukraine, has shown outstanding leadership. Thank you for that. Financial security, humanitarian assistance channeled by the EU to Ukraine has not only given Ukraine a chance to survive, but provided all Europeans a strong sense of unity, a clear vision that together we are much stronger. And what is particularly important, it gave us all a feeling that Europe is and will be a powerful guardian of global security and prosperity. The EU and European countries have shown moral leadership, which has strengthened Ukrainian will to freedom. And we in Ukraine will do everything to implement all the reforms to become the members of the European Union as soon as possible, to return our gratitude, contributing to the success of our common European future. But at this moment, we need to win the war. Our war is our common future. Dear friends, it's 183rd day of full-scale military invasion of Russia in Ukraine, and 183rd day of the fight for existence of Ukrainian nation, for European future of Ukraine as a member of the EU and NATO, for peace and security of Europe and of the whole world. Almost 9,000 of Ukrainian troops gave their lives for our common future. As prominent Finnish thinker, director of the Finnish Institute of International Affairs, Mika Aaltola, wrote yesterday in his tweet on the Independence Day of Ukraine, with tremendous struggle, the aggression was stopped before cancer could have spread widely in Europe. And we are especially grateful on behalf of Ukraine to President Niinistö, who voiced during the Crimea Platform Summit on the eve of the Independence Day, and also in his congratulating message on the Independence Day of Ukraine, that Finland will continue to provide assistance to Ukraine as long as it is needed. But we are doing everything possible so that victory is there as soon as possible and the assistance is not needed for long, military assistance, I mean. The aggressor is desperate now, and that's why it is attacking all directions, because of Independence Day and because of conduction of the second summit of the Crimea platform to give Russia a clear message that it's time to deoccupy Crimea. And also because of our unbroken resistance, and because 98% of Ukrainians believe that Ukraine will be deoccupied, and the territorial integrity of our country will be restored in full within internationally recognized borders. The aggressor is losing, despite of sending all available military power, despite of weaponizing food and energy on global scale, despite terrorizing Ukrainians and the world, even by means of possible nuclear disaster on Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant occupied by Russian troops, despite of all efforts to undermine our resolute commitment to freedom and democracy. They will fail because we are united as never before. And when we drew the results of our common mistakes, because part of us were quite naive, and we were not believing that Russia is serious about waging the war in the middle of the European continent, and also about really redrawing the modern map of Europe. But everything changed after February 24. Ukrainian nation has shown heroism and bravery stopping this barbaric force, which has posed the threat to the whole Europe. We paid extremely high price to show Europe and the world how dangerous could be any short-sighted and any narrowly minded national interests. And I strongly believe we have learned our mistakes. The aggressor is becoming more and more weak every day, and the worst scenario is behind. Ukrainian defense forces are in a stage of stabilizing all the battlefields or battle lines with small moving of the units, and we made a lot of good deterrence there. We need more sophisticated heavy weapons and equipment for offensive to make free all our territories within internationally recognized borders. Ukraine is on the verge of a new stage of the war by starting its counter-offensive campaign in different directions. It was possible only with three factors combined of heroism of Ukrainians, perfectly coordinated political and economic sanctions against Russia, and comprehensive military, financial, and humanitarian assistance by the EU countries, EU member states, and other partners of Ukraine like US, UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, and others. It is critically important, particularly now, when our resolve coordinated actions are crucially changing the situation. We need to be more active in the strengthening political and economic isolation of Russia and depriving Russia of all essential resources and technologies for continuing its cruel atrocities in Ukraine, massive attacks primarily against civilians. And we commend outstanding EU role and leadership in making sanctions more effective and tougher. Our call today is, please, close the doors of the EU for Russian tourists, helping them to acknowledge fully that it is time for changes in Russia for good. Stop any energy supply from Russia to Europe, including nuclear fuel, oil, and natural gas as soon as possible. And in this case, I praise the role model of Finland, which cut energy supply from Russia on the bilateral level. Please ensure that Russia is not able to circumvent sanctions. Ensure that Russia's participation in all international organizations, and I mean all, is fully terminated until sovereignty of Ukraine is fully restored. All Russia's crimes are punished, and full financial and material compensation for destruction, losses, and pain is brought to Ukraine. It is total nonsense that the country, violating all possible international norms, is at the table where decisions are taken, namely the United Nations Security Council or the Board of Governors of the International Atomic Energy Agency, while Russian military forces have occupied the biggest nuclear power station in Europe near Zaporizhia and blackmailing the whole world with the threat of nuclear disaster. Along with comprehensive military assistance to Ukraine to help us to win the battle on the ground, humanitarian assistance to survive this winter, and financial assistance to keep Ukrainian economy afloat, there is maybe the core condition of the eventual full victory and full restoration of respect and trust of international law and rules-based international order. I mean, bringing to justice all responsible for Russia's war crimes, genocide, crime against humanity, and crime of aggression in Ukraine. And I would like to make say several words regarding security guarantees. Fully punished Russia's crimes in Ukraine, fully restored sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, fully restored rule of law on the international level, as well as full integration of Ukraine into the EU and NATO will influence greatly on the internal dynamic in Russia, which will guarantee that we will never experience atrocities or imperialistic adventurism in the heart of Europe anymore. Nowadays, the government of Ukraine is making every effort to keep Ukraine's economy afloat, supporting relocation from war zone, cutting red tape, launching lending programs, ensuring welfare benefits to the IDPs, and restoring infrastructure in the liberated areas. I would like once more to express our deep gratitude to the European nations and the EU for valuable and substantial assistance. On July 5, during Ukraine Recovery Conference in Lugano, Prime Minister of Ukraine presented the National Recovery Plan of Ukraine, which defines the list of national reconstruction programs encompassing all critical dimensions of state development. Fast Recovery Plan, which covers rapid reconstruction of social infrastructure facilities destroyed as a result of a full-scale invasion, also is unfolding. And my message today to you is please be active, engage in fast recovery and long-term rebuilding process, all interested stakeholders, from government, non-government, and private sectors. It's a big deal and big challenge, but it is also a big opportunity. As you know, the main idea is that the key source of funds for Ukraine's recovery should be from confiscated assets of Russia and Russian oligarchs. And it is critically important to elaborate effective international mechanism to ensure full compensation of destructions. We will build with your assistance new Ukraine, new member state of the European Union, the country which will substantially contribute to security, social development and prosperity of the European family of democratic nations. This summer, in June, Ukraine has received the candidate status for the membership in the EU. It was a historical and touching moment for all the Ukrainians when we have started to make a long-desired dream to come true. Now the government of Ukraine, despite the war, works hard to implement 7 recommendations of the EU to open the way to the accession negotiations. We have already implemented part of these recommendations, for example, regarding the fight against corruption. Personnel decisions have been made. The head of the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office has been appointed, and competition for the head of another anti-corruption body has been launched. Also, we have already sent draft laws on media and national minorities to the European Commission for evaluation at the end of October. We plan to enter the final stage of implementation of each of the EU recommendations. There is a lot of work to do this year and in the future, and we need your best practices and regulations implementation, as well as your knowledge of good governance, best methods and practices of provision of social services, and your experience in boosting economic development in the realities of climate change and global economic volatility. On our side, Ukraine is fully committed to finish its work as soon as possible to move smoothly through accession negotiations at the same time with rebuilding Ukraine as an example of innovations and best practices in all spheres of life. I strongly believe that if rebuilding of Ukraine is a pan-European project, it could strengthen the community, and it will. And I would like to conclude by saying that the role of local governments is pivotal. I would like to commend Mina Arva, who was immediate to respond to my proposal to establish partnership relations with Kharkiv. This is the first agreement that was signed since the war, since the full-scale invasion started in Ukraine. And there are already several more pending projects, and quite a few agreements are under preparation to be signed. And people-to-people contacts are important. Recently, I think several days ago, the delegation of Eurocities visited Ukraine. It was received by our president, and a special memorandum was signed to promote municipality-to-municipality cooperation between Ukraine and European cities. You know, Putin was opposing the EU path of Ukraine so fearlessly, but thanks to this person, Europeanization of Ukrainians came by itself, because there are so many Ukrainians now in Europe, and they are learning European experiences. They are being met with the hearts and homes opened for them. They are hired in European businesses, and they are learning European practices. So I think thanks to that, the membership of Ukraine in the European Union will be just as speedy as it is possible. Thank you very much for your attention and for your solidarity and support.
Thank you, Ambassador Dibrova, for these very touching words and a very clear message to us Europeans. Okay, and well, now it's time to move on to today's European Union, not the future one. And And well, the war burst out on the 24th of February, and that was a time of the French presidency. And so the ambassador of France, Mr. Zuckerman, has promised to tell so how France read the situation, how it developed, and what kind of reactions you during the presidency had and why. So nice to have your analysis of the spring. Welcome.
Dear Madam Mayor, Undersecretary of State, Excellencies, dear friends, colleagues, over the first 6 months of 2022, the French presidency of the Council of European Union has accompanied the profound transformation of the European Union at a time when war has again struck our continent. It has worked to provide a united and firm response to the Russian aggression against Ukraine, while continuing to work on the major project for the future of Europe. From the first days, the EU took swift and historic action to support Ukraine and sanction Russia. It was the result of the seriousness of the aggression and the reaction it has provoked. But it was also, I hope, the result of the French presidency reactivity in close cooperation with the European institution. The European Union's response was exceptionally strong, rapid, and united from the very first days of the conflict. 5 Foreign Affairs Councils were held in the first 10 days of the conflict. In addition to foreign policy, all the relevant areas of the Council were and remain mobilized: justice and home affairs, energy, economic and financial affairs in particular. The list I'm going to do might be a little bit long, but the aim is to show how much we have tried to do in that context. The European Union strongly condemned the Russian aggression and launched a campaign to isolate Russia in the international organization. Olga talked about that, and obviously all what I'm going to say is going to be prolonged by my colleague, but I don't like to be the second part. The EU also adopted sanctions that have a massive impact on Russia and Belarus. 6 packages of sanctions against individuals involved in the aggression and against the financial, transport, defense, and energy sectors. It has provided massive humanitarian aid, 335 million, in addition to member states' bilateral humanitarian aid of 1.28 billion. It welcomed, and Olga also talked about it, more than 7.6 million Ukrainian women and men, and opened up the possibility to access to education, employment, and social protection. Member states are getting additional resources from the EU program CARE to cover the needs related to those refugees. It has supported the Ukrainian army with the deployment of unprecedented military aid, totaling 2 billion in 4 tranches, including 1.84 billion of lethal equipment. There again, the mechanism of the EU has helped the member states to work on that by financing the delivery of the equipment through the European Peace Facility. It has also provided practical support to the Ukrainian authorities and international courts, including the International Criminal Court, to preserve evidence of war crimes. And that is going to be, in the future, a very big topic. It has supported the energy supply by connecting Ukraine and Moldova to the EU electric grid in March. It had provided a trade assistance by suspending tariff on imports from Ukraine. It has supported the Ukrainian economy and will still go on with a financial assistance of almost 2 billion. And we are talking now about another maybe 9 billion. It has shown its commitment to playing a major role in the reconstruction of Ukraine. The Commission prepared a document already in May based on 4 pillars: digital energy reconstruction and resilience, rule of law, implementation of a structural program to deepen the integration of the Ukraine, and support for the economic recovery. You talked about Olga earlier, Olga, of the Lugano conference. It's not the end of it, obviously, and I'm sure that will be one very strong point of the Czech presidency. But one we will support warmly and as much as we can. And you talked about also about the fact that the EU granted Ukraine as well as Moldova the status of candidates for membership to the European Union at the European Council of June. More broadly, the European Council recognized a European perspective of Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia, and it will go on in the future presidency, and this council will decide in due course. I may also remind you of the proposal of the President of the French Republic, and in the context of the return of war to our continent, about a reflection initiated on a European political community. That idea was endorsed in June by the European leaders and will, I hope, strengthen the political, economic, cultural and security links at the level of our continent. Those direct action and reaction in the context of the Ukrainian crisis has also been an incentive or strengthening of the agenda of the French presidency that we were already prepared to work on. The agenda of the French presidency was mainly focused on sovereignty, whether it is a question of developing tools of power within vis-à-vis the outside world or strengthening our internal model. The consequences of the crisis of Ukraine has shown that those ideas and those priorities were at the core of our reflection and were more strengthened by that situation. We had, France hosted in Versailles a summit in March that has shown we need a less dependent Europe and a stronger Europe in the defense and security fields. Less dependent Europe was a topic that occupied a lot of people, particularly in the field of energy, as a lot has been done since the beginning of the crisis to reduce our critical dependency related with Russia, or gas, oil, and coal imports. The discussion and measures also were taken to build a stronger economic base with an agenda of sovereignty for food products, health products, critical raw materials, and semiconductors. On the defense and security fields, my colleague Olga also talked about the relation between the EU and NATO. That was one of the topics on the agenda of the French presidency because we had a discussion on the strategic compass. That discussion showed that we really need to work on a common threat assessment, on clear priorities, and on operational action and capacity. The crisis just show how urgent that was and how quickly we need to work on it. We also agreed to strengthen the defense industrial base to encourage investment in the construction of defense equipment. In that discussion, and the document on strategic compass was also a topic of the articulation of work between EU and NATO. I agree with what Olga said, that the Ukrainian crisis has shown that NATO was part of our collective defense, and that the EU and NATO had common goals and needed to work together. On that topic, I stress the strong support France has given to Finland and Sweden to join NATO, and we believe that with the addition, the European part of NATO, which will be even stronger. And I remember President Niinistö talking about that a few days ago, about the how stronger the EU will be within NATO when we will have our two colleagues together with us. We also need to strengthen relations with our neighbors. And the Ukrainian crisis has shown how intricate the world is and how quickly it can struggle and fail. Let me just take the topic of the food crisis and supply chain crisis. Being on our own is not going to be enough. We need to tackle all together the consequences of the crisis. And I want to remind you the initiative FARM, Food and Agriculture Resilience Mission, launched by the French presidency in reaction of the struggle that we show, that the struggles we noticed immediately after the crisis in Ukraine and the shortage of food and grain. And the aim of the initiative was to show the most vulnerable countries, and particularly the African countries, that Europe was not on its own, fighting for its own, but was also ready to work together with the rest of the world and trying to help on the short term with providing access to additional stocks, and on the long term with helping with more sustainable and agricultural production. That shows that with the crisis has shown us that we needed to work together and do not stay on our own within the EU and outside of the EU. And my last point will be reminding you that at the time we had the discussion that was called the Conference on the Future of Europe, that took place between May 2021 and May 2022, and that associated citizens in different panels to think about what what union we want in the future. And I think the crisis in Ukraine and the aggression of Russia has shown also more clearly the priorities on what we want as Europe. And the conclusion written by those panels, and that was transmitted to the Council and discussed at the last Council in June, shown that the priority was on the defense of democracy, defense on the values, defense of health and education, and all the core values of EU. That was even more evident in a time of crisis and of war than it was when we were more comfortable, maybe. So let us continue to work on those maybe more intellectual or more not less practical than the technical everyday topics we have. But we need to have a discussion and an interest given by the citizens on what we want to do in the future with Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. You clearly described that though the European Union sometimes is a little bit of slow in its moves, so when it comes to fundamental issues, we can act rapidly and even in several dimensions. No, that's of course good. So it came so close to us and was so concrete that finally, so under your presidency, we really could react. You left, well, that was a little bit of a retrospective, in fact, but now since July, the Czech Republic has the presidency. You got some kind of legacy from France, and we are in a situation that's developing all the time. So would be very interesting to hear, so how the Czech Republic now sees the situation, and during your presidency, you have already been there for 2 months and still the rest of the autumn to go. So what kind of priorities you have, and what do you think that you can, so in practical terms, do? So the ambassador of the Czech Republic in Finland, Mr. Adam Wojciech, please.
Dear Excellencies, dear Madam Mayor, dear Undersecretary of State, dear representatives of the city of Turku, dear organizers of Europe Forum, dear guests, I would like to thank you for your invitation and for organizing Turku Europe Forum that brings us all together to discuss our European project and its future. I would also like to thank you for organizing this special event focusing on Ukraine, which undoubtedly belongs to the European family. Let me also congratulate the city of Turku and the city of Kharkiv on signing the partnership agreement. It is a great honor for me to be here as an ambassador of a country which is holding the current EU presidency in these turbulent times. The last half a year changed our lives and our perception of the world completely. This year's February the 24th, when the Russian Federation began its unprovoked and brutal attack against the Ukrainian sovereignty, will remain forever written in the history as a day that shook the foundations of the European security. I would now like to take this opportunity to brief you on the Czech presidency's plans on coordination of EU actions in response to the Russian aggression and support for Ukraine in its brave resistance. It will come as no surprise to you that the priorities of the Czech presidency have been strongly influenced by the Russian war. of aggression against Ukraine that has reshaped the international order and has inflicted unspeakable misery and despair to millions of innocent people. The Czech presidency is therefore focusing on 5 flagship areas. First and foremost, we are dealing with the direct effects of the war in Ukraine. We are focusing on managing the situation of Ukrainian refugees as well as on the post-war construction of Ukraine. Second, we are working on ensuring energy security in Europe. Third, we want to strengthen European defense capabilities and foster cybersecurity. Fourth, we will continue enhancing strategic resilience of the European economy. And last but not least, facing the aggression in the East, we want to foster resilience of our institutions that have a major influence on maintaining and developing values of democracy and the rule of law in the EU. Ukraine has been brutally attacked by Russia and has lost and is losing human lives every day to bravely defend its territory, families, heritage, and the European community. It is our duty to support Ukraine by all means. The defense of sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine will be, of course, our main priority throughout the whole presidency. We will emphasize a firm and united stance towards Russia and provide all the political, military, economic, and humanitarian assistance Ukraine needs. Ukraine is not fighting only for itself, it is fighting for the whole democratic world. Russia's unprovoked and unjustified war of aggression against Ukraine has caused the biggest European refugee crisis since the Second World War. The EU must take all steps to deal with the unprecedented refugee wave, in particular of women and children. Our utmost priority is and will be protection of children and their access to education, as well as providing healthcare services to Ukrainian refugees. This will require mobilization of all available resources and expertise, as well as their coordinated use. The Czech presidency will build on the principles of solidarity, efficiency, and flexibility in this area. In cooperation with the European Commission, it will work on flexible transfers of funds and the creation of the necessary structures to assist the most affected member states, organizations, and the civil sector. We welcome all efforts to mobilize the EU budget to relieve the member states hosting millions of displaced Ukrainian people. Just as crucial as responding to Ukraine's immediate needs, we need to begin preparing for the post-war recovery, reconstruction, and modernization of Ukraine, focusing on restoring critical infrastructure, ensuring basic services, strengthening resilience and economic recovery and stability in Ukraine. Strong EU cooperation with Ukraine and securing the necessary financial resources across the free world will be crucial. It is necessary to begin a discussion on the main principles of the reconstruction platform as well as the Rebuild Ukraine facility. As the financing of Ukraine's reconstruction will amount to hundreds of billions of euros, we need to work together in an inclusive manner in order to allow for contributions also from non-EU donors. We must closely cooperate with Ukrainian authorities on a comprehensive reconstruction plan of Ukraine that will be closely linked with essential reforms and Ukraine's integration into European structures. I'm glad that we agreed on this with Ukraine and other stakeholders at the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Lugano in July. We support the European perspective for Ukraine. It is apparent that Ukraine's path towards the full EU membership will be long and challenging. However, candidate status for Ukraine is an extremely important step, which makes it clear that Ukraine's future is rooted in the EU. The Czech presidency will tirelessly work towards helping Ukraine to start a sustainable and rapid integration process. At the same time, the integration process provides a sound framework for essential reforms, which constitute an important enabling factor for successful reconstruction. I'm sure that in this endeavor, the Czech presidency will be able to count on cooperation and support of all players, including the European Commission. The Czech presidency will also support cooperation on the investigation and prosecution of war crimes committed by Russia. Until Russian representatives are held responsible and Russia compensate for the vast damages caused to Ukraine, we cannot even seriously consider the question of normalizing our relations. We commend all the steps the EU has already taken in the interest of food security. However, we must step up our efforts in this area in order to prevent world food crisis and further migratory pressures. At the same time, we need to tackle the Russian disinformation campaign, focusing on third countries, mainly in Africa, and spreading a false narrative about the rise of food prices. On the 30th and the 31st of August, Czechia will host in Prague the Gymnich, an informal gathering of the EU foreign ministers, which will be followed by a ministerial lunch where the foreign ministers of Ukraine, Moldova, and Georgia will be invited. As a follow-up to those closed discussions, the Czech presidency is seeking to open the debate for multiple stakeholders, politicians, and representatives of different governmental and non-governmental organizations to address the issues related to this dramatic situation. That is why this year the 26th Annual Forum 2000 Conference, in the context of the Czech EU presidency and in cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, developed a special pillar, Forum for Ukraine, dedicated to the discussion about the present and future of Ukraine. The conference participants will address the vast implications of the war as well as the post-war future of Ukraine, Ukraine's reconstruction, accountability for the war crimes, EU integration process, and future of the Eastern Partnership. Moreover, the Prague Manifesto for a Free Ukraine will be open for signatures of all the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, the invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation, which has completely overhauled the geopolitical situation on our continent this year, has at the same time demonstrated an unprecedented European unity and ability to react swiftly and effectively in a major crisis triggered by an external threat. Yet European unity is not one of an authoritarian unanimity, but a unity in diversity of a multi-voice debate, which, however, is driven by our common values towards consensus. Our culture of political dialogue and consensus building, which we have been forging for decades, proves to be a strength rather than a weakness of the European project. We still have a lot to do, but I hope that together, in cooperation with all member states, we'll achieve our tasks and contribute to make a better and more resilient Europe, Ukraine included. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for sharing the information of the priorities of the Czech Republic during the presidency, and as well some, let's say, more practical steps that you have been thinking about, and your strong commitment to continue the work on supporting Ukraine in the short run and long run, and as well being realistic that this is quite a hard process, but really we have the commitment. Thank you. Well, the Europe Forum Turku takes place in Turku, Finland. So I think it's fair that as well the Finnish the state of Finland has a right to say something. The analysis, perhaps, of what has been heard, and how the state of Finland is going to operate inside the European Union, when it comes to the question, the war in Ukraine, and what kind of priorities we have in this European cooperation. And I'm glad that the Undersecretary of State from the Foreign Ministry of Finland, Kai Sauer, had the chance to come and join us. And please, Kai Sauer, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Dear mayors, Madam Arve and Mr. Terehov, Dr. Blum, ambassadors, dear friends, citizens of Turku, I realize that I'm the one who is standing between this event and the reception, so I try to be relatively short. Ambassador Olga, I have to refer to you separately, impressive as always. I also wanted to, one day late, wish you a happy Independence Day and also pick up on what you said on President Putin Europeanizing Ukraine. And as we know, he also succeeded in NATO sizing Finland and Sweden. He managed to unite Europe. He managed to strengthen the transatlantic relationship. So quite a list of strategic achievements. I would also like to express my condolences on behalf of the Finnish government for the recent loss of lives in Ukraine. We condemn those actions, and our thoughts are with you. What needs to be said is also a certain proudness of our cities, and now we are in Turku taking this initiative at Kharkiv, and there are other Finnish cities doing the same with their partners in Ukraine. I think it's kind of a reflection of the kind of very broad and strong commitment we have in Finland in supporting Ukraine in these difficult times. Mika gave me an order to speak on the Finnish government's contribution and position on Ukraine. I'm an experienced diplomat. The press might ask me something, I speak what I wanted to speak, but I think I can at least partly reply to what you asked for. And regarding to the Finnish government's commitment to continued support to Ukraine, let me quote the speech or passage of the speech of President Niinistö, which he held 2 days ago at the annual ambassadors conference. And the quote starts, "My message is clear. Finland does not forget that Ukraine is fighting not only for its own freedom, but also for European values and principles. Our support for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people will continue as long as necessary." Unquote. And some hours after this speech, President Niinistö attended the Crimea platform for the second time, hosted by President Zelensky. Many of the ambassadors here who are present there, heads of states, attended as well and made very, very strong commitments. And I wanted to also repeat the passage by President Niinistö stated on that occasion. "Our political, economic, military and humanitarian support to Ukraine has been strong. The support will continue for as long as needed." So I think these are very clear words, and similar statements were made during our ambassadors' conference by the Prime Minister, by the Foreign Minister, and other members of the government. What I think was noteworthy in these statements, and this is a little bit, interpretation of a diplomatic custom, these statements did not refer to figures. Usually when we make statements about our commitments, we always like to highlight what Finland is giving this much, Czech Republic is giving that much, France that much. But in this case, no figures were mentioned. And I think that carries also a certain political message. We are beyond figures. We are giving what is necessary, full stop. So, now a few thoughts, maybe two thoughts or reflections on the situation. And these are perhaps more observations from a diplomat who is trying to make sense of the bigger picture. The most common question I'm facing, talking to colleagues, to friends, to the media, so how and when will this end? And I say that I don't have a definite answer, because the answer, of course, depends on Ukraine's ability to fight, which in turn depends largely on the international support. Military support, political support, economic support, moral support, humanitarian support, I think you can also add. The West, us, will come under pressure because of energy shortage, because of inflation, different economic hardships, war fatigue. These are also the soft points the adversary, Russia, will try to use. And these are the factors the population has to react to. So the question is, how much resilience and leadership is there in Europe and in the West? How much willingness is there to communicate about the need for enduring hardships and sacrifices, which are minimal, and I repeat, minimal, compared to the hardships and sacrifices by the Ukrainian people? Communication is critical. What is at stake, and what are the alternatives, one could ask? What message are we sending to our own citizens, to our partners, to the world outside Europe, if we waive our support? My other observation concerns decision-making. There are not only two countries at war, there are two decision-making systems at war. Ukraine is a parliamentary democracy with the president at the helm. The political decision-making is transparent and subject to influencing from the civil society, media, and public. Polls as well. Defining the moment when to stop a war is subject to a public and very complex debate. In Russia, the situation is different. The parliament does not represent different interests. There is no civil society, no free media, and decisions are made in the centralized way. This means that gains and losses are also decided upon a very subjective manner. And by the way, this also explains, as a general rule, why democracies don't fight a war against each other. It's too complex. Finally, I would say that Ukraine has already won. From the beginning, Ukraine has had the moral high ground. Over the past 6 months, Ukraine has shown its military resolve, and politically, the greatest victory has been Ukraine's candidacy status at the European Union, which Finland has strongly supported. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Under-Secretary of State Sauer. So again, there was quite a clear message, clear commitment from the State of Finland and security, the President of the Republic. It's quite clear. And as well, thank you for the analyzing the framework from the Finnish perspective. It's certainly good to see the situation from very many angles, many dimensions. Thank you. Before I give you technical advice of the continuation of the evening, the chairman of the Europe Forum, Dr. Blum, has promised to give some closing words and he told that they will be very short. But anyway, Anders, you're welcome.
I would like to thank especially the Ambassador Dibrova, congratulate our mayor and the city of Kharkiv to this agreement. And I'm very proud of all of the speakers because we got an excellent picture of the whole situation. And now it's time. We have made a lot of work today, all of us around the Europe Forum, so we are going to the riverbank, to the ship Suomen Joutsen, Finnish Swan, to enjoy the hospitality of the city of Turku. I thank you very much, and thank you, Mika, for an excellent moderating of this meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Blum. And thank to my colleague in Kharkiv, Julia Zurska, who has been so cooperating and she's listening to us. And she's the last one at the mayor's office there. The mayor, Mr. Terehov, he as well, I was informed, so could follow this session for quite some time. So nice that they could join us. Well, about the technical advice. So there will be a reception on the white ship in front of the museum, Suomen Joutsen, the Brigade. And so welcome there. It's hosted by the city of Turku and Mayor Arve. But I asked the speakers, the mayor, and all the ambassadors present to stop in front of this building at the stairs. There will be a group photo of you. Thank you so much for this session and have a nice reception and evening. Thank you.